Hello, and welcome to the KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. I am your host, Kaylin John Louis, and I am so excited to be on the air with you all today. Hope everyone is having a lovely day. I hope you've taken time to truly invest in yourself. That's something big that I want to encourage you to do today. Invest in yourself, whether that's taking some time to rest, whether that's taking some time to learn something new, or if it's simply just taking a moment to do some self-reflection, invest in yourself. But really hope your day has been going well. I am so thankful to every single person who consistently listens in on this radio show. You definitely motivate me to keep coming back on every week. And I am truly just simply looking forward to all that will come as I continue to share more and more on Inspiring Moments with Kaylin. I encourage you to download the Hallelujah 95.3 app so that you can listen to this show on the go on your electronic devices. And I really want to make sure that you tune into this episode. Share this, and I'm being so for real. Share this with somebody who may need to hear it. I don't care what age, whether you're an adult, you're a child, you're a teenager, you're in college, wherever you are at, this show this week is going to be something that I feel is absolutely essential to discuss, that I feel is absolutely important to discuss and talk about. And I just think that there's a lot of things going on right now that a lot of people are not knowledgeable about. I fortunately happen to be one of those, kids or young adults that, is doing the work right now. I'm a young woman who is in the media world. I'm always looking at articles. I'm always, retaining knowledge. And I wanted to use my platform this week to talk about something that is really affecting us, that's impacting all of us. And that is the 2024 election. Everybody's been seeing ads. I don't care if you've been on YouTube, if you've been on TV, if you've simply been scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or any other social media platform, you've most likely seen an ad for the presidential election, local or state elections. You've seen something on your timeline that has said or talked about the 2024 election. And with just 10 days left until the election, we must know that not only the candidates are important, but the issues of what they are standing for are important. And not just that, but also understanding the basics of government and how that works and how we can be a part of the process. Whether you're voting for the first time or you're a seasoned voter, today's show will give you the information you need to make an informed decision. I'm going to cover the basics of how our government works, break down the critical issues that are on the ballot, and tackle some of those controversial topics driving conversations right now across the country. So I want you to grab a notepad, sit back, let's get into it because the election is near. And here's what you need to know. My topic for today is the election is near, dot, dot, dot. Here's the facts. Now, let's start off, like I said, with basic civics and political education, because yes, all my people who just got out of high school, maybe you're in college like me, they had us do that civic literacy requirement. And I used to always complain, why do they have us doing this? We took civics, we took US history. Why do they have us doing it again in college? And the more and more I see people's ideals and people's understanding of politics, the more and more I understand why. Because there is a lot of people that I've come in contact with, even just having conversations, who don't understand the basics of how we work in America. And so here's a quick refresher on how our government operates. Everybody knows that we're a democracy, right? We have three branches of government in that democracy because we are not a unicameral legislature. We're a bicameral legislature. That means that we are split between House of Representatives and you also have your Senate that make up Congress. But the three branches of government are the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branch. If you used to watch Conjunction Function, they had a song for that. They was putting everything together. That's just how I grew up. But each of these branches of government has its own responsibilities to make sure one branch doesn't become too powerful over the other. The president who we're voting for in this election is part of the executive branch, which is responsible for enforcing laws. The legislative branch includes Congress, like I said, your House of Representatives and your Senate. Those are the people who make the laws. And the judicial branch is the branch of government that interprets those laws. It is essential to understand how all these branches work together to create a balance of power. So when you're voting for a president, like we're about to, or you're voting for a senator, or you're voting for a representative, you're voting for someone who's going to be playing a key role in shaping laws and policies that don't just affect the different things that you do, but they also affect you personally in the future endeavors that you're in. So keep that in mind. Like I said, again, three branches of government: executive, legislative, and judicial. Then we have the electoral college versus the popular vote. And this tends to be one of the most confusing aspects of our election is the electoral college, because a lot of people think, okay, well, we vote on election day. We're the only people who are in play of who, gets elected president, who gets elected, or specifically, like I said, for president. But on election day, technically the electoral college is the one that, has the final decision in electing our president. So what is the electoral college? The electoral college is a group of representatives from each state. The number of electors in each state is determined based on its population size. And while your vote counts, because it significantly does, the electors from each state ultimately cast the deciding votes for president. A candidate needs a total of 270 electoral votes to win, and a candidate can win the popular vote. But it's also important to note that even if they get that popular vote, meaning they get the most individual votes from the people, they still can lose in an election if they don't win enough electoral votes. Why do I say that? Because this is why it's important to vote in local and state elections, because the senators that we're putting in there, the people who are representing us as a state, are key in presidential elections. The people that we voted beforehand or people that have been appointed in different places are extremely important to how our democracy works. In Florida, we have 30 electoral votes. 30. That's a big number. It's not as big, as California and Texas, because California, I believe, has about 54 and Texas has about 30, but I mean, not 30, but about 40 electoral votes. But we have 30. That's a pretty big number compared to some of the smaller states. And that is why it's important that we make sure that we're talking about this. So, yes, I gave you that recap to those who may be listening who are adults and you're saying, okay, why are you repeating this stuff? This is for people who are not paying attention to the news, who may have needed a refresher. So, now, what are some of the key issues that are going on in the 2024 election? Number one, the big thing we keep hearing about, and the thing that seems to be the most aggravating, issue that we're thinking about, is the economy and inflation. One of the top concerns in this election is the economy. Why? Because we see inflation right now. It's affecting all of us, from the groceries we're buying to the gas we put in our cars. Everything, for the most part, lately, when we're looking at purchasing, is being affected by inflation. Each candidate has their own plan to handle inflation, and it's important to understand those key differences when you're going to the poll and are going to elect said people, because when you are voting, all of the things that the person that you're voting for stands for is going to be the things that you hold them accountable for when you go in the election. If you see that they align with their values and they align with the things that you're doing, it's going to impact you. It's going to impact your money. It's going to impact the community. So make sure that whichever candidate you decide on voting on, regardless of the party, that you are paying attention to the things that they stand for. Because yes, everybody talks about, making sure that they, are being upheld by the policies that they say they're going to do. But that's a real thing. The job of representatives and officials is to do the things that the public wants them to do. We are the people that are supposed to hold them accountable and keep them, in check, for us to be able to make sure the things that we want to happen in our government are happening. That's why there's checks and balances, That's what this whole democracy consists of. You can't, just like everybody gets frustrated in the elections when we're trying to hold the president. Oh, the president said they were going to do this, and then they end up doing something completely opposite. Or you have senators and representatives who they say all these platform points, but they don't actually stand on those platform points. That's why it's important to research every single person before you go and vote. Then another issue that's very important right now is healthcare. Are you concerned about the cost of your medical bills or the price of prescription drugs? Because that is what this is all encompassing. There's some candidates who want to expand Medicare or push for universal health care for everyone so they can afford medical services. That's huge. There's a lot of people who don't get to go to the doctor as frequently as you may be able to. There's some people who can't afford health insurance. They can't afford to go to the doctor and make sure that they're okay. And so that's something big to think about. We want to live well, we want to live long, and in order to do that, yes, we pray, yes, we ask God for healing, but sometimes we also have to go to the doctor. So healthcare is a big thing that's a part of it too. And when you're, getting ready to look at the candidates, like I said, some of them may want to expand healthcare, some of them may want it to be a more private market-based system. So you got to understand where each candidate stands on healthcare so it can help you decide who will best represent what you need. Because this is the time where you get to honestly be selfish and thinking about yourself, thinking about your community, thinking about your family. You want to vote based on your needs and your concerns. Another issue that's big that we're seeing, and that I would say the younger generation, my generation, is, more vocal about, is climate change and energy policy. Climate change is not an issue that we can, ignore. And the candidates have very different issues about how they want to handle it. Let's be real clear about that. We obviously see climate change as something that's real. All these hurricanes that we've been having back to back to back, and how global warming is really starting to heat other parts of the world. We've seen people who are having winters that they've never had before, or they're having extreme temperatures that they never had before. It's been hot in Florida over the summer, and now we're going back and forth between a cold front and heat. There's so much going on in the climate, and so you have to be able to pay attention to the candidates. You got to look at who's advocating for stronger environmental regulations and moving toward clean energy like solar and wind power. Or you may agree with others that argue they want to rely on traditional energy sources like coal and oil and natural gas. But your decision, like I said, the way you make your decision, make sure it aligns with what you believe in, whichever side you go with. Make sure your decision in the election, or make sure you know that your decision in this election is going to impact the future of the planet. You want to live longer. You want to be able to breathe clean air that goes into, the trees, making sure we don't cut as much trees down, make sure we have the right amount of gas and different things being emitted into our solar system. Not saying that they have the answer for climate change, because I personally know that's not in their hands, but there are some things that we have to do to be able to change that policy. So that's climate change. And another big issue that is, people are talking about is gun control and public safety. That's huge. I'm always so frustrated when I have to keep seeing stories of school shootings or people walking into places and they are just able to, end lives in an instant because of where we are with our gun control and safety. So think about that in the election. Public safety is always going to be a concern, and this election is no different. Some candidates want stricter gun control laws to reduce mass shootings and gun related violence. Others argue that citizens have a right to own their own firearms for self defense. Wherever you stand on that spectrum, understand that that policy will affect both the safety of your community and your constitutional right. Or your constitutional rights. So be mindful when you're voting of what speaks to you, of what you think should happen. We already know gun control is a very tight, topic that everybody has opinions on. So be very, very careful, with what you're doing and how you are voting. Then let's go more to the controversial topics, because there's a lot of controversial topics that pop up all the time. But this is one of them, that's going to be in the election that we're talking about, is voter suppression and voter fraud. There's a controversy right now with the issue of voter suppression versus voter fraud. Some states have passed laws in the last few months making it harder for people to vote, like restricting specific forms of ID or limiting early voting times. Supporters are saying that these laws protects against voter fraud, ensuring the integrity of elections, but others are critiquing it, saying they disproportionately affect minorities, the elderly, and the poor, making it harder for these groups that I just mentioned to vote. So understanding the debate, where you stand in the debate, affects who gets to have a say in our democracy. So make sure you're paying attention to that. We've been pushing voting real hard across many platforms, and as much as people, especially for my people of color, where you hear people saying that they fought for your right to vote and they fought for your right to vote, it's really serious because those Jim Crow laws and those voter literacy tests of, the late 80s and 90s, or just even going back later trying to suppress us. That's not something that's so far away. The 90s weren't that far away. The 80s weren't that far away. And there's some legislation that's trying to bring some of that past history back to the present, which we don't want to happen. So be mindful of who stands for what when you're voting for that. Another thing that's big is reproductive rights. Everybody saw the overturn of Roe v. Wade. Everybody saw the change in how the states started drastically making all these policies on women's bodies and their reproductive rights, especially against abortion. And it's a big issue in this election. Many candidates are taking stronger stances on either protecting or limiting access to abortion services. And that deeply resonates with a lot of people. But it's also crucial to know that some of them, are trying to not make sure that it's something that's accessible. We've seen in Florida, that things have changed. We've seen in places how things are changing. And I don't ever think it's okay for anybody to say anything to what women want to do with their bodies. I've always been a strong advocate of whatever people do, it's between them and God. So I say that. That's my little soapbox. That's my little plug in. But I say that to say that it is crucial to understand where each candidate stands on reproductive rights, because these policies are going to continue to affect women's health and anatomy across our country. Another thing that's big is immigration reform. It's another hot topic issue. Candidates are pushing for stricter border controls and reforms to limit immigration, while others are advocating for providing a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, especially those who were brought here under programs like DACA. What happens in this election will determine how we handle immigration moving forward. That's not just affecting the people you see on TV. That could affect a friend that you know, a family member that you know. That can affect people that are closer to you than you realize. Be careful on who you vote for. Then Supreme Court decisions. That's another controversial issue. We're seeing the Supreme Court making several rulings that have direct impacts on the election. You saw everything where they were trying to say that Trump was king over the law. You saw different things with the Supreme Court being able to overturn very, very, big cases that affect people's lives, whether that's affirmative action, diversity, equity, and inclusion, LGBTQ rights, or, even talking about the people who have to deal with reproductive rights. The Supreme Court, on who's sitting in there, is going to determine it all. And if y'all haven't been paying attention to the politics, you have a divided Congress right now. Congress is very much divided, and past president, former president, and put some Supreme Court justices in there that don't necessarily agree with the others. And the people that we vote in for Supreme Court justices are just as important as the election. Be very careful on who you're voting for. Then some things I want to talk about, as far as Leon County, because I'm going to say something for the presidential election really quickly, but then I want to give you more information on who's going to be on the ballot. But when it comes to this presidential election, the main thing that I want to stress between, because I'm not going to personally persuade anybody to do or vote for anybody. That is not my purpose of this show, because at the end of the day, everybody already knows what's up, What I want you to know is that you need to make sure that you're voting with your morals, voting with the stuff that you believe in. Celebrities have been heavily influencing this political system. And because I know there's some people they see if a celebrity is endorsing a candidate, then I should too. Not saying that it's always bad for the ones that are, but be careful who you follow, who you look at, who says this, that, and the third, Verify all information you're getting about every candidate and about everything before you just vote for somebody. Be very careful. And then the other thing I want to stress is too, when it comes to Kamala Harris, I do not like the unnecessary pressure that I'm seeing, placed upon her, even within our own Black community. Because this is the thing. I'm not saying that everybody's views or everything, everybody has their own and is entitled to their own opinion. But I personally became frustrated when I'm getting on social media and I'm seeing people, saying that she's not going to protect Black people's rights and different things. And I just remember when Obama was in office, everybody's cracking down on him to fix the Black issue, to fix, stuff going on. But I want to reiterate, because I explained this earlier, that we are a bicameral legislature. Yes, we have a president. Yes, we want the president to do everything, but the president also has to go with Congress. If Congress proposes something and the president doesn't like it and they vetoes it, or it gets vetoed, it goes nowhere. Just like if Congress proposes something and the president likes it, it's a constant back and forth. A president can only do so much. So I just want to stress, let's not put that unnecessary pressure. Yes, obviously, because she is a Black woman being able to run for this position, we expect her to have a lookout for the Black community. However, let's not get ahead of ourselves in the sense that she still has to go through the same processes of our government. Founding fathers created these doctrines, created these systems for our government, and that's what we have to roll with. And I'm done off that soapbox. But moving forward, more into those voting in Leon County, because I know that's a lot of people who are listening. If you did not know, here are some of the candidates who you may be voting for. And people who are running for U.S. House District 2, you have Representative Neil Dunn and Yen Bailey. For Florida Senate District 3 is Daryl Parks versus Corey Simon. And y'all done seen all those things, all their campaigns. I'm not even going to get into that one. For Florida House District 7, you have Representative Jason Schoaf and Kenny Beasley. For Florida House District 8, you have Representative Gallup Franklin versus Grace D. Glass. You have for Florida House District 9, you have Allison Taint versus Spencer Brass. For Leon County School Superintendent is Rocky Hanna or Joe Burgess. For Leon County Commission at Large Group 1, you have Carol Cummings versus David Hawkins. For Leon County District 4, you have Brian Welch versus Isaac Montilla. For Tallahassee City Commission Seat 2, you have Dot Edmund Johnson versus Curtis Richardson. And these are different things, and I'm saying all these names. I want y'all to research these names that I'm saying, because I know a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't know much about these people. I didn't know who was going to be on the ballot, this, that, and the third. I'm telling you. So you have no excuse to not look it up yourself, okay? So make sure you research those names. But another thing to look at on the ballot is the different amendments that we're voting for this month. Amendment number 1 in Florida, I'm speaking strictly to Leon County right now for those listening. Amendment 1 is partisan school board members voting yes or no for this amendment. Amendment 1 would make district school board elections partisan starting with the 2026 general election, including another ballot measure approved by Florida voters in 1988 mandated in the state constitution that those races be nonpartisan. But while not partisan on paper, school board elections have become far more politically contentious in the recent years. And so in this, you want to make sure that you pay attention to the fine print. Like I said, it would make district school board elections partisan starting in the 2026 general election. You're voting yes or no on that. Then Amendment 2 that you may be voting on is the right to hunt and fish. Amendment 2 establishes a state constitutional right to hunt and fish, and if approved by voters, Florida would join around 24 states that already have that right in place, including places nearby like Georgia and Alabama. There's a lot of different views on that, but that's Amendment 2. The the two ones that I think are pretty big that I've seen a lot more people advertising and trying to, get people to understand is Amendment 3 and Amendment 4. Voting yes on Amendment 3 or voting no on Amendment 3 is this. Amendment 3 legalizes recreational marijuana in Florida. It allows those 21 and up to have to up to 3 ounces and up to 5 grams of cannabis concentrate. That's Amendment 3. Now, I've heard controversies over that because some people are just saying, okay, why are we electing for people to have free recreational marijuana? I mean, I know it's legal in a lot of other places. I've heard some people saying, that it's important because there are some people who are convicted for this, who've been convicted for maybe not caring enough, or they've been wrongfully convicted for long years. And there's a lot more of our Black brothers and sisters who are in jail from this sentence. So being able to vote yes on this could, help with some of their sentencings being shortened. But just know for Amendment 3, like I said, you're either voting yes or no to legalize recreational marijuana in Florida. Amendment 4 is abortion access. Amendment 4, if you vote yes, would guarantee abortion access in Florida. The amendment would likely generate the most attention, especially since the Florida Supreme Court okayed a 6-week abortion ban that took effect May 1st. I want y'all to please, 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 please make sure y'all pay attention to that amendment. It's a huge amendment. There's people who are going through things that you have no idea about. And regardless of your stance on abortion or reproductive health, people need access to those resources in some of the most unfortunate situations. So please do your own research on that. Last but not least, Amendment 6, which would be public campaign financing. Lawmakers okayed Amendment 6 for the ballot. It repeals public campaign financing. Public funding is available in Florida for those running for governor and lieutenant governor, attorney general, chief financial officer, and agricultural commissioner. To be eligible, candidates must first raise a certain amount from state residents. So, like I said, lawmakers in support of the amendment, they see it as a way to save taxpayer dollars or redirect that money to other government agencies. Opponents say that it'll hurt underfunded candidates who are facing competitors getting big donor money. Again, that's either voting yes or no on Amendment 6. So remember, Amendment 1, like I said before, partisan school board members. Amendment 2, right to hunt and fish. Amendment 3, recreational marijuana. Amendment 4, abortion access. Amendment 6, public campaign financing. And one more is Amendment 5 that I went over, which is the homestead annual inflation adjustment. It would lead to more savings for property owners who apply for homestead property tax exemptions and cost lower government millions in reduced revenues. So there's that one. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of big words, but I'm explaining this again because not everybody does the research to do that. Now, the people you want to pay attention to for Leon County judges. For seat 4, it's Robert Churchill versus LaShawn Riggins. Those 2 names, research them yourselves, decide on what you want. Now, I said all this. I know I said a lot of information, but let me help it come full circle for you. I say all this because these are the facts. There's a lot of misinformation out on the internet right now. A lot of people are spreading lies. A lot of these, campaigns can be very targeted. A lot of these commercials and different things leave out a lot of the facts and try to, either demean or different things. But what I want you to know is your vote is important. I know everybody keeps telling you this, but it's so important right now in this election. If you heard all those things that I mentioned, all those things that are at stake, whether you think that they don't affect you or not, somewhere down the line it's going to, especially for my students at HBCUs. A lot of these things, while it may not be stuff directly on the ballot, the people that we're electing can have you know, a bigger impact on us at the end of the day. The things that you like, the things that you enjoy, the places that you like going to, all these things may be affected in this election. And it is so important. I want to stress that early voting began 5 days ago on Monday, October 21st. And it runs all the way until Sunday, November 3rd at 10 different sites in Leon County. All of them are open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., except for the courthouse, which is open from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The sites and precincts that you can go to are BL Perry, Branch Library, Eastwood Branch Liberty, FAMU Student Union, FSU Student Union, Fort Braden Community Center, Leon County's Elections Office, Lake Jackson Community Center, Leon County Courthouse, Northwood Branch Library, and Woodville Community Center. Those are all places that you can vote. early without having to go to your specific precinct. You can cast a vote at any of those sites, regardless of your polling location. Last but certainly not least, please make sure that you vote. If you don't vote early, vote November 5th on election day at your polling precinct. Now, that's important. You cannot go vote anywhere random. You have to go to your polling precinct on voting day. They're open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Find some time in that time frame to be there, and you must have a photo ID. That's either a driver's license, your Florida ID card, a U.S. passport, a debit or credit card, military or student ID. Your vote is your voice, and if you don't like what's happening in the country or you want to see a specific change, then you have to vote to make it happen. Not only should you vote in this presidential election, but also in your local and state elections, because those affect our life directly day to day. From schools you attend to the roads you drive on, those local elections matter. So make sure you're registered and know where to vote. Show up on election day or early if you know that you're going to miss that. And I want to challenge each of you to not only vote, but to stay informed. Have conversations with your friends and family about the issues that I've discussed today and encourage them to do the same. We all have the power to make a difference, but it starts with making our voices heard at that ballot box. Thank you so much for listening. I know I was rambling a lot, but that's a lot of information that I want you to take notes on. Share this with somebody because I feel like this information is so important. And before I leave, I ask that you connect with me on all my social media platforms, which are YouTube. You can subscribe to the KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin YouTube channel. Turn on your post notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Kaylin Cares 15, on Facebook and LinkedIn at Kaylin's Caring Connection. And please go to the website, which is www.kaylinscaringconnection.com, to check out the website where you can find more information about me. As I wrap up the show, please remember one thing: you are loved, you are enough, your voice matters, and you matter. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. Until next time, be blessed.